Worrying is the same thing as banging your head against the wall. It only feels good when you stop. By John Powers. In my words, don't overthink it. Period. Worrying is something we all do sometime in our life, from school, work, children, and a big one, money. But most of us are students, so school is a big one as well. Worrying is just part of life, and well, I learned the hard way. I was a senior in high school, excited to leave like any other senior. I was a little more though. I was one of the few teen moms out there in the world, which means that I had a low chance to graduate because of my son, which made me more excited to leave high school. But no one really told me how hard it was going to be to just finish, from portfolio to state test, which were in order to graduate, and grades were just part of it. I still remember it like it was yesterday. It was about halfway through my senior year. I remember having my portfolio done because I worked on it during the summer, and that was just part of it. But the writing portion was very difficult for me. English is my second language. Spanish is my first, so English is hard. And reading, I'm getting better at it, but still hard. But writing was just difficult. And still, I couldn't pass the state writing. We did get 2 tries, one your junior year and one your senior year, but I didn't pass either of them. So I got stuck doing 2 sample writings. One a narrative writing and another information writing. The information writing to me was easy. I think I wrote about tigers, which I love tigers, and I knew a lot about them. But my second one, I was having a hard time thinking of what I wanted to write. Like what to write about, like who or why, or I don't know. But I couldn't figure it out, so I got stressed over it. I worried that, okay, well, I knew that I needed this to graduate school, so I started getting stressed about it and worrying and thinking, oh, well, I'm not going to graduate. And I think I tried like 3 narrative stories, different times. I can't remember exactly which ones I wrote, but I still didn't pass those 3. So at this point, I was ready to quit. I was physically and mentally tired of the whole thing. I was making myself sick to this point. The school had to take me to the ER a few times from worrying so much, stressing myself and like my body from it, which to this point I can't even remember, but I guess the ER has proof about that also. I started from worrying to like not even caring anymore. Just wanting to quit. So now I didn't even want to try, but there was this teacher that I hated by now, but she kept trying this and trying that, and I still couldn't. And I think that class was probably the worst class I ever took, but I loved it even though, because it helped me graduate. I remember treating the teacher horribly, from rolling my eyes at her, and most of my class, during that class, I looked pissed off all the time. I had a pissed off face, and it was bad. I was really mean to her, and I'm pretty sure she knew it too. When she heard that it was causing my health to go downhill, she started to get scared for me. My mom even started getting scared. She didn't know how to help me, and she tried so hard trying to figure out how she could help me, because she didn't graduate school and she wanted me to graduate school. Like all her other daughters, she wanted us to graduate school. So writing for me was difficult enough. So there was like 2 months left to finish an essay, and I still had nothing, until I remember like one weekend my mom decided to tell me a story about her American dream. Everything from coming to the United States to bringing her daughters with her and having to decide to leave them in Mexico for a while, everything, and what she had to face. And it was a one-of-a-kind story that someday I hope I can share with all of you as well. I wrote about it, and I chose the title, The Most Amazing Person I Know. I wrote it like a mystery, like you had to think about who I was talking about until I said, well, the person that I know and the most amazing person I will ever know, that's my best friend that gave me life, I should be grateful. I call her Mom. The following week I finished the essay, and I was just waiting to see if I passed or not. I stressed over it. I cried myself to sleep, just worrying. And I think one night I had to call my mom because I couldn't breathe. To the point I couldn't breathe. I had to go to the emergency room, and this is the only one I remember actually going to the emergency room with my mom. Was telling me that my blood sugar was really low. My blood pressure was super high, so everything, my whole body was out of whack, just worrying to know if, did I pass it, did I not, just thinking throughout the whole week, trying to figure out if I passed it. But I remember so clear, like it was yesterday. I remember it was right after lunch, which I hated either way because classes after lunch are already tired, so either way I hated it. So I went in, I sat in front like every other day, like every day I did, and I remember hearing the bell ring, and I remember that the teacher was late that day, and then a few minutes later she comes in and starts calling people, or starting saying people's names and stuff, and then I remember not hearing my name, and it scared me to death. And another teacher came in, following with her with a huge smile on her face, and staring at me on my desk and saying, "It's an honor to say that Ruth has passed her second writing sample." I got up and started to cry, and down to my knees I started crying, like I didn't even know, like I was in shock, trying to like just figure out in my mind and my heart that I actually passed. The final thing I needed to graduate, because portfolio done, one essay done, grades are good, so the sample was everything to me, just to finish high school, just to graduate. Then I remember after I calmed down and everything, like trying to cope with everything, I remember asking the teacher if I could call my mom to let her know that I have passed. And she was like, "No need, your mom is in the office and reading what you wrote." I was in shock and happy all at the same time. I'm just like, wait, what? So it was really surprising. So I ran into the office. When I got there, I saw my mom and this one lady that she's been with us forever. The interpreter, I guess, the person that speaks Spanish for her. And I remember seeing the principal crying. And I mean, that's shocking to see a principal cry either way. So I remember hugging my mom, and then she's like, "Sí, te preocupas mucho," that I was worrying too much. And that just made me remember that she always told me that I'm that girl that worries about everything. From the moment I started being a mom, I just worried, and I still worry. So, but not as much as I did. And I just remember starting to laugh because it was something that she said from the beginning that I became a mommy. I started to worry so much, and she always said, "No te preocupes mucho." But when she said that, it reminded me of how mean I was to the teacher, or the one person that pushed me, saying that I was going to do it and I was going to get there and I was going to pass, and that was the teacher. And I remembered that I went in there, and I remember she was speaking, and I didn't care who looked at me, what were they going to say. I didn't even bother thinking of like the reactions the other kids were saying. I mean, they always talked about me, so at this point I didn't really care. And I remember that I gave her a huge hug. I was crying, and when I hugged her, and all I could remember trying to think is thank you. And then when the class was over, I just tried to figure out ways to like thank her, because if it wasn't for her, I would have quit. No lies, I would have quit. I still admire her until this day, and I still thank her very much. And I remember the following day, I went to the store the following afternoon after school, and I went to get flowers so I can give it to her, because I was just grateful that she helped me, even though I was being a brat with her and treating her horribly, that she didn't deserve it, and I knew that. But like my mom always said, no, te preocupas mucho. So, and those words were always going to stick with me, and she always tells me them no matter what. So, with that said, we all worry since little kids, from the moment that we ride a bike or start to fall to monsters under your closet. It's just something that we do, and knowing or being able to control it is very important. And yes, sometimes coming back to it later makes a difference. I had to make changes, and I can say writing is still hard for me, but I don't overthink it. So don't overthink it, because it's easier to resolve any worries in life. I can say that I have to pay attention to what I do and how I do it, because worrying about it does cause me to have anxiety, and anxiety causes me to have blood pressure problems, and worrying for me can kill me pretty much. So, and unfortunately I got to the point that I had to just step back and breathe and do it another day and deal with it another day. So with all this said, I hope you take my story and know that they're just small little things that eventually will disappear. They're little and they mean nothing at this point. It's the past, and I'm grateful that I didn't graduate college or high school, and hopefully my next goal is to graduate college and be one of those few teen moms that do, and most likely will be the first in my family as well. And that to me is amazing. And yes, in college I do overthink everything, but now I do not overthink anything. Even at the speech class, it's hard to just figure out what you're gonna speak about. So like the beginning, the quote said, worrying is like banging your head against the wall, and the only way it will feel good is to stop. So just stop. It's that simple. And well, thank you.